Hello everyone, today I'm going to read the Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie, Part2, Chapter 11. As this, I'm recording my reading practice and I post it on YouTube. And if you like it, or you want to follow me, or you just want to check my improvement, please give me a like and subscribe. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Chapter 11. Cornelia Robson stood inside the temple of the Abu Temple. It was evening of the following day, a hot, still evening. The Karnak was anchored once more at the Abu Temple to permit a second visit to be made to the temple, this time by artificial light. The difference this made was considerable, and Cornelia commented wonderingly on the face to Mr. Ferguson, who was standing by her side. "Why, you see it ever so much better now," she exclaimed. "All those enemies having these heads cut off by the king, they just stand right out. That's a cute kind of castle there that I never noticed before. I wish Mr. Bosner was here. He'd tell me what it was." "How you can stand that old fool beats me," said Ferguson gloomily. "Why, he's just one of the kindest men I've ever met." "Pompous old bore. I don't think you ought to speak that way." The young man gripped her suddenly by the arm. They were just emerging from the temple into the moonlight. "Why do you stick being bored by a fat old man and billing and snubbed by a vicious old harridan? Why, Mr. Ferguson, haven't you got any spirit? Don't you know you're just as good as he is?" "But I'm not." Cornelia spoke by honest conviction. "You're not as rich, that's all you mean." "No, it isn't. Cousin Murray's very cultured and—" "Cultured!" The young man let go of her arm as suddenly as she had taken it. "That's what makes me sick." Cornelia looked at him in alarm. "She doesn't like you talking to me, does she?" said the young man. Cornelia blushed and looked embarrassed. "Why?" "Because she thinks I'm not her social equal." "Pah! Don't that make you see red?" Cornelia faltered out. "I wish you wouldn't get too mad about things. Don't you realize, and you an American, that everyone is born free and equal?" "They are not," said Cornelia, with calm suddenly. "My good girl, isn't her? It's part of your constitution." "Cousin Mary said politicians and gentlemen," said Cornelia. "And, of course, people aren't equal. It doesn't make sense. I know I'm kind of homely looking, and I used to feel mortified about it sometimes, but I've got over that. I'd like to have been born elegant and beautiful like Mrs. Style, but I wasn't, so I guess it's not use worrying." "Mrs. Style," exclaimed Ferguson, with deep contempt. "She's the sort of woman who ought to be shot as an example." Cornelia looked at him anxiously. "I believe it's your digestion," she said kindly. "I've got a special kind of pupsing that Cousin Marie tried once. Would you like to try it?" Mr. Ferguson said, "You are impossible." He turned and stood away. Cornelia went on toward the boat. Just as she was crossing onto the gangway, he caught her up once more. "You're the nicest person on the boat," he said, "and mind you remember it." Blushing with pleasure, Cornelia appeared to the observation saloon. Miss Van Shailer was conversing with Dr. Bessner, an agreeable conversation dealing with certain loyal patients of his. Cornelia said guiltily, "I do hope I haven't been a long time, Cousin Murray." Gazing at her watch, the old lady snapped, You haven't exactly hurried, my dear. And what have you done with the violet stole? Velvet stole? Cornelia looked round. Shall I see if it's in the cabin, Cousin Mary? Of course it isn't. I had it just after dinner in here, and I haven't moved out of the place. It was on that chair. Cornelia made a desultory search. I can't see it anywhere, Cousin Mary. Nonsense, said Mrs. Van Schuyler. Look about. It was an odor such as might give to a dog, and in her dog-like fashion, Cornelia obeyed. The quiet Mrs. Fanshawe, who was sitting at a table nearby, rose and assisted her, but the stole could not be found. The day had been such an unusual, hot and sultry one that most people had retired early after going ashore to view the temple. The Doyle were playing bridge with Bennington and Race at the table in the corner. The only other occupant of the saloon was Esquire Pollard, who was yawning his head off at the small table near the door. Miss Van Schuyler making a loyal progress backward, with Cornelia and Miss Burrows in attendance, posed by his chair. He swung blithely to his feet, stifling a yawn of gargantuan dimensions. Miss Van Schuyler said, I have only just realized who you are, Monsieur Pollard. I may tell you that I have heard of you from my old friend, Rufus Van Alden. You must tell me about your cases sometimes. Pollard, his eyes twinkling a little through his sleeveless, bowed in an exaggerated manner, with a kindly but condescending nod. Miss Van Schuyler passed on. Then he yawned once more. He felt heavy and stupid with sleep and could hardly keep his eyes open. He glanced over at the bridge players, absorbed in their games. Then at the young person, Barthorpe, who was deep in the book. Apart from them, the saloon was empty. He passes through the swinging door out to the deck. Jacqueline Fairford, coming precipitately along the deck, almost collided with him. Pardon, mademoiselle, she said. You look sleepy, Monsieur Pollard. He admitted it frankly. Oui, I am consumed with sleep. I can hardly keep my eyes open. It has been a day very close and oppressive. Yes, she said to brood over it. It's been the sort of day when things break, when one can't go on. Her voice was low and charged with passion. She looked not at him, but toward the Sally shore. Her hands were clenched, rigid. Suddenly, the tension relaxed. She said, Good night, Monsieur Pollard. Good night, mademoiselle. Her eyes met his, just for a swift moment. Thinking it over the next day, he came to the conclusion that there were being appeal in that glance. He was to remember it afterward. Then he passed on to his cabin, and she went toward the saloon. Cornelia hadn't dealt with Miss Van Schuyler's many needs and fantasies. Took some notebook with her back to the saloon. She herself did not feel in the least sleep. On the contrary, she felt wide awake and slightly excited. The bridge, four were still at it. In another chair, the quiet Fanshawe read a book. Cornelia sat down to her needlework. Suddenly, the door opened and Jacqueline Fairford came in. She stood in the doorway, her head thrown back. Then she pressed a bell and stuttered across to Cornelia and sat down. Being assured? She asked. Yes, I thought it was just fascinating in the moonlight. Jacqueline nodded. Yes, lovely night, a real honeymoon night. Her eyes went to the bridge table. rested a moment on Lynette Doyle. The boy came in answer to the bell. Jacqueline ordered a double gin. As she gave the order, Simon Doyle shot a quick glance at her. A faint line of anxiety showed between her eyebrows. His wife said, "Simon, we are waiting for you to call." Jacqueline hummed a little tune to herself. When the drink came, she picked it up, said, "Well, here's the crime," drank it off, and ordered another. Again, Simon looked across from the bridge table. His calls became slightly absent-minded. His partner, Pennington, took him to task. Jacqueline began to hum again, at first under her breath, then louder. He was her man and he did her wrong. "Sorry?" said Simon to Pennington. "Stupid for me not to return your lead. That gives him rubber." Lynette rose to her feet. "I'm sleepy. I think I'll go to bed." "About time to turn in," said Cornelia Royce. "I'm with you," agreed Pennington. "Come in, Simon," Doyle said slowly. "Not just yet. I think I'll have a drink first." Lynette nodded and went on. Wraith followed her. Pennington finished her drink and then followed suit. Cornelia began to gather up her embroidery. "Don't go to bed, Miss Robson," said Jacqueline. "Please don't. I feel like making a night of it." "Don't disturb me." Cornelia sat down again. "We girls must stick together," said Jacqueline. She threw back her head and laughed, a thrill laughed without merriment. The second drink came. "Have something?" said Jacqueline. No, thank you very much," replied Cornelia. Jacqueline tilted back her chair. She hummed "No" loudly. He was her man and he did her wrong. Miss François turned a page of Europe from within. Simon Doyle picked up a magazine. "Really, I think I'll go to bed," said Cornelia. "It's getting very late." "You can't go to bed yet," Jacqueline declared. "I forbid you to. Tell me about yourself." "Well, I don't know. There isn't much to tell," Cornelia faltered. "I've just lived at home and I haven't been around much. This is my first trip to Europe. I'm just loving every minute of it." Jacqueline laughed. "You're a happy sort of person, aren't you? God, I'd like to be you." "Oh, would you? But I mean, I'm sure." Cornelia felt fluttered. Undoubtedly, Mr. Belport was drinking too much. That wasn't exactly a novelty to Cornelia. She had seen plenty to drunkenness during Prohibition years. But there was something else. Jacqueline Belfort was talking to her, was looking at her, and yet Cornelia felt it was as though, somehow, she was talking to someone else. But there were only two other people in the room, Mr. Fansop and Mr. Doyle. Mr. Fansop seemed quite absorbed in his book. Mr. Doyle was looking rather odd, a queer sort of watchful look on his face. Jacqueline said again, "Tell me all about yourself." Always obedient. Cornelia tried to comply. She talked rather heavily, going into unnecessarily small detail about her daily life. She was too unused to being the taller. Her role was so constantly that of the listener, and yet Mr. Belfort seemed to want to know. When Cornelia faltered to stand still, the other girl was quick to prompt her. "Go on, tell me more." And so Cornelia went on. Of course, Mother's very delicate. Sometimes she touches nothing but cereals. Unhappily conscious that all she said was supremely uninteresting, yet fluttered by the other girl's seeing interest. But was she interested? Wasn't she somehow listening to something else, or perhaps for something else? She was looking at Cornelia. Yes, but wasn't there someone else sitting in the room? And of course, we get very good at classes. And last winter, I had a course of... How late was it? Surely very late. She was being talking and talking. If only something definitely would happen. And immediately, as though in answer to the wish, something did happen. Only at the moment, it seemed very natural. Jacqueline turned her head and spoke to Simon Doyle. Ring the bell, Simon. I want another drink. Simon Doyle looked up from his magazine and said quietly, These stewards have gone to bed. It's after midnight. I tell you, I want another drink, Simon said. You've had quite enough to drink, Jackie. She swung round at him. What demanded business is it of yours? He shrugged his shoulders. None. She watched him for a minute or two. Then she said, What's the matter, Simon? Are you afraid? Simon did not answer. Rather elaborated, he picked up his magazine again. Cornelia murmured, Oh dear, as late as that, I must. She began to fumble, dropped a thimble. Jacqueline said, Don't go to bed. I'd like another woman here to support me. She began to laugh again. Do you know what Simon over there is afraid of? He's afraid I am going to tell you the story of my life. Cornelia sluttered a little. Jacqueline said clearly, You see, he and I were once engaged. Oh, really? Cornelia was a prey of the conflicting emotions. She was deeply embarrassed, but at the same time, presumably thrilled. How black Simon Doyle was looking. Yes, it's a very sad story, said Jacqueline. Her soft voice was low and mocking. He treated me rather badly, didn't you, Simon? Simon Doyle said brutally, Go to bed, Jackie. You're drunk. If we were embarrassed, Simon, dear, you'd better leave the room. Simon Doyle looked at her. The hand that held the magazine shook a little, but he spoke bluntly. I'm staying, he said. Cornelia murmured for the third time, I really must. It's so late. You're not to go, said Jacqueline, her hand shot out and held the other girl in her chair. You're to stay and hear what I've got to say. Jackie, said Simon sharply, you're making a fool of yourself. For God's sake, go to bed. Jacqueline sat up suddenly in her chair. Words poured from her rapidly in a short hissing stream. You are afraid of sense, aren't you? That's because you're so English, so reticent. You want me to behave decently, don't you? But I don't care whether I behave decently or not. You'd better get out of here quickly, because I'm going to talk. A lot. Jim Fonteff carefully shut his book, yawned, glanced at his watch, got up and strolled out. It was a very British and utterly unconvincing performance. Jacqueline swung round in the chair and glared at Simon. You damned fool, she said thickly. Do you think you can treat me as you have done and get away with it? Simon Doyle opened his lips, then shut them again. He sat quite still, and though he was hoping that her upset would exhaust itself, if he had nothing to provoke her further. Jacqueline's voice came thick and blurred. It fascinated Cornelia, totally unused to naked emotions of any kind. I told you, said Jacqueline, that I'd kill you sooner than you'd see you go to another woman. You don't think I meant that? You're wrong. I'm only being waiting. You're my man. Do you hear? You belongs to me. Still half did not speak. Jacqueline's hand fumbled a moment or two on her lap. She leaned forward. I told you I'll kill you, and I meant it. Her hand came up suddenly with something in it that flashed and gleamed. I'm shot you like a bit dog, like the dolly dog you are. Now, at last, Simon acted. He sprang to his feet, but at the same moment, she pulled She pulled the trigger. Simon, half twisted, fell across the chair. Cornelia screamed and rushed to the door. Jim Fontop was on the deck, leaning over the rail. She called to him, "Mr. Fontop! Mr. Fontop!" He ran to her. She clutched at him incoherently. She'd shot him. Oh, she'd shot him! Silent Owl still lay as he had fallen half into and across the chair. Jacqueline stood as though paralyzed. She was trembling violently, and her eyes dilated and frightened, were staring at the crimson stain slowly soaking through Simon's torso leg, just below the knee where he held a handkerchief close against the wound. She stammered out, "I didn't mean... Oh my God, I didn't really mean..." The pistol dropped from her nervous fingers with a clatter on the floor. She kicked it away with her feet. It slid under one of the settees. Simon, his voice faint, murmured, "Fontop, for God's sake, there's someone coming. Say it's all right, an accident, something. There mustn't be a scandal over this." Fontop nodded in quick comprehension. He wheeled round to the door where a startled face showed. He said, all right, just fun." The servant face looked doubtfully puzzled, then reassured. He nodded and went off. Fontop turned back. "That's all right. Don't think anybody else heard. Only sounded like a clock, you know. Now the next thing." He was startled. Jacqueline suddenly began to weep hysterically. "Oh God, I wish I were dead. I'll kill myself. I'll be better dead. Oh, what I have done. What I have done." Cornelia hurried to her. "Hush, dear, hush." Simon, his brow wet, his face twisted with pain, said urgently, "Get her away. For God's sake, get her out of here. Get her to her cabin. Fontop, look here, Mr. Robson, get that hospital nurse of yours." He looked appealingly from out to the other of them. "Don't leave her. Make quite sure she's safe and the nurse looking after him. Then get hold of old Barton and bring him here. For God's sake, don't let any news of this get to my wife." Jim Fontop nodded comprehendingly. The quiet young man was cool and competent in the emergency. Between them, he and Cornelia got to the whip, strangling girl out of the salon along the deck to her cabin. There they had more trouble with her. She fought to free herself. Her sobs redoubled. I down myself. I'm not fit to live. Oh, Simon! Fontop said to Cornelia. "Better get hold of Miss Bower. I'll stay while you get here." Cornelia nodded and hurried out. As soon as she left, Jacqueline clutched Fontop. "His leg is bleeding. Broken. He may bleed to death. I must go to him. Oh, Simon, how could I..." Her voice rose. Fontop said urgently, Quietly. "He'll be all right." She began to struggle again. "Let me go. Let me throw myself overboard. Let me kill myself." Fontop, holding her by the shoulders, first forced her back on the bed. "You must stay here. Don't make a fuss. Pull yourself together. It's all right, I tell you." To his relief, the distorted girl did manage to control herself a little, but he was thankful when the contents was pushed aside and the efficient Mrs. Bowser, neatly dressed in a hideous kimono, entered accompanied by Cornelia. "Now then," said Miss Bower briskly, "what's all this?" She took charge without any sign of surprise and alarm. Fontop thankfully left the overweight girl in her capable hands and hurried along to the cabin occupied by Miss Dr. Bessner. He knocked and entered on top of the knock. Dr. Bessner? A terrific noise resolved itself, and the startled voice said, "So, what is it?" By this time, Fantop had switched the light on. The doctor blinked up at him, looking rather like a large owl. "It's Doyle. He's been shot. Mr. Belfort shot him. He's in the saloon. Can you come?" The stout doctor reacted promptly. He asked a few cold questions, pulled on his bedroom slippers and the dressing gown, picking up a little coat of necessaries, and accompanied Fantop to the lounge. Simon had managed to get the window beside him open. He was leaning his head against it, inhaling the air. His face was a ghastly color. Mr. Bessner came over to him. "Huh? So? What are we here?" A handkerchief, soiled with blood, lay on the carpet, and on the carpet itself was a dark stain. The doctor's examination was punctured with a grunt and exclamations. "Yes, it is bad, this. The bone is fractured, and a big lot of blood. Here, Hansop, you and I must get him to my cabin. So, like this, he can't walk. We must carry him thus." As they lifted him, Cornelia appeared in the doorway, catching sight of her. The doctor uttered a grunt of satisfaction. "Ouch! Is it you? Good. Come with us. I have need of assistance." "You will be better than my friend here. He looks a little pale already." Fantop emitted a rather sicky smile. "Shall I get Mrs. Bowers?" he asked. Dr. Bessner threw a considering glance over Cornelia. "You will do very well, young lady," he announced. "You will not faint to be foolish, eh?" "I can do what you tell me," said Cornelia eagerly. Bessner nodded in a satisfied fashion. The procession passed along the deck. The next 10 minutes was purely surgical, and Mr. Jim Fantop did not enjoy it at all. He felt secretly ashamed of the superior fortitude exhibited by Cornelia. "So, this is the best I can do," announced Dr. Bessner at last. "You have been a hero, my friend." He patted Simon approvingly on the shoulder. Then he rolled up his sleeve and produced a hypodermic needle. "And now I will give you something to make you sleep. Your wife, what about her?" Simon said weakly. "She needn't know till the morning," he went on. You mustn't blame Jackie. It's been all my fault. I treated her disgracefully. Poor kid. She didn't know what she was doing." Dr. Messer nodded comprehendingly. Yes, I understand." "My fault," Simon urged. His eyes went to Cornelia. "Someone ought to stay with her. She might hurt herself. Dr. Messer injected the needle, Cornelia said with quiet competence. "It's all right, Dr. Doyle. Mr. Doyle. Miss Bowser is going to stay with her all night." A graceful look flashed over Simon's face. His body relaxed. His eyes closed. Suddenly he jerked them open. "Fantop?" "Yes, Doyle." "The pistol. Ought not to leave it lying about. The boys will find it in the morning." Fantop nodded. "Quite right. I'll go and get hold of it now." He went out of the cabin and along the deck. Miss Bowser appeared at the door of the Japanese cabin. "She'll be all right now," she announced. "I've given her a morphine injection." "But you'll stay with her?" "Oh, yes, morphine. More fear exists in some people. I shall stay all right." Fantop went on to the lounge. Some 3 minutes later, there was a tap on Barnard's cabin door. "Dr. Bessner?" "Yes." The short man appeared. Phantom beckoned him out to the deck. Look here, I can't find the pistol. What is that? The pistol. It dropped out of the girl's hand. She kicked it away, and it went under the settee. Settee? It isn't under that settee. They stared at each other. But who can have taken it? Phantom shrugged his shoulders. Besna said, It's curious that, but I do not see what we can do about it. Puzzled and vaguely alarmed, the two men separated. Okay, thank you for listening. This is the end of the chapter 11. Wow, this chapter is very, very dramatic, dynamic. Yeah, and the page from 149 to 166. So it's about 16 pages to 16. Yeah, I guess it's 60 pages. Yeah, this was very. Yeah, how can I say this? Dramatic. And the Jacqueline shot Simon. First, yeah, that was really. South Pine part was curious because first I feel old when Jacqueline stopped who? Cornelia, yes. Cornelia was sleeping tired and she wanted to go back his cabin to take a rest. But Jacqueline stopped it and she wanted as a company to talk with. Maybe, I guess she wanted to talk with her all night, maybe until the morning, or just she wanted to talk something about Simon while Simon was there, and maybe she was speaking in a very loud voice. There was a dialogue. She's talking to let hear to someone. I think that was Simon, I guess. And she just wanted to do something to pull the attention to Simon or something. But the thing is, Simon didn't react it, so she becomes frustrated. Then she starts to talk to Simon directly with a very, very rude manners, and that makes Simon get angry. There is one more thing to think awkward because they're talking about these stories. Simon was really childish. And she's not interested in art. She's not interested in her wife's money or business. Just she acted like him. Just wanted to go somewhere he wanted to go, talk what they want. He wanted to talk. That kind of people, very childish. But here he was very patient. If Simon was real Simon, I think he will always Jackie soon, maybe, because he is not a type of a patient. But in this chapter, he was really act like a man. He didn't answer, just lead Jackie to stop drinking and go home. That was adult people's behavior. I'm impressed. So that attitude makes Jacqueline get more frustrated. Then he started to be excited and talk more. That her talk is more elevated. Then shoot, that was really. I was surprised, and I stopped before reading the word trigger. Because she said, here, now at the last Simon acted, she sprang to his feet, but at the same moment she pulled the trigger. She pulled the trigger. This means she shot Simon. So Simon fell down, and that was a leg, yes. Simon was hit on his leg and fell down. The blood, he lost many blood. That was really scary scene. But still, Simon acted very mature adult guy. He said, it's my fault, not her fault. Don't tell to my wife, because she will be worried, and I wanted her. He wanted her to take a good rest. But actually, she will notice at the morning. So I don't know which is better. But he chose that, and the other companies understand that and follow Simon. So in this chapter, Simon lead everything. I guess he was really a good man, a mature man, in a good manner. I was impressed. He isn't like him. And Jacqueline was, I think she drank too much. So she became more not like her in this place. So she couldn't shut the trigger for long days, but finally today shoot him. Yeah, that was really. And one more thing is the Phantom's last dialogue, that it isn't under that city now. Yes, here. The pistol is dropped out of the girl's hand. She kicked it away and it went under the city. It isn't under the city now. This means pistol is gone. Someone took, and or someone just keep, or someone dropped it, slide. I don't know, but pistol is gone. So this thing might be that pistol might do something in later stories, I guess. That is this chapter. Okay, and there was just 15 pages, 16 pages today I read. But the dialogue, this chapter is a very dialogue driven, and it makes me very easy to follow, to read. There was few unfamiliar tricky words because dialogues are very easy for me to read, and more narration is more difficult because narration tends to use advanced words, and which I'm not familiar with, especially in this mystery novels, because I am rather a fantasy novel reader, so that. But still, this chapter is very easy to read and follow, and very dramatic and dynamic and head moving and shocking, but very readable and accessible, and the story itself pulling the readers, I guess. This is a good chapter. Yeah, maybe it's a middle highlight of this book, because I'm reading over 166, and this book have 360, so the half might be 180, and I've read 160. Maybe one more chapter because the half of this journey. It was good. Okay, thank you for listening, and I want to stop my recording here. And after recording this, I edited it and posted it to my YouTube. And if you want to follow this to listen to my reading, or if you want to look after my improvement, or you want to practice with me, please give me a like and subscribe. Thank you. See you next time. Bye bye.